Hey there, this is Mr. Articulate. Thank you for clicking on this video. I make and upload to YouTube a 5 to 10 minute video every day with the long-term goal of learning skills that will make me a more articulate person in my day-to-day life. What I want to do for the next few videos is just jump in and share an opinion that I have that if I shared it with someone in real life and they asked me to explain why I felt that way, I would find it difficult to actually put words to the reasons that I have come by the feeling that I have. And so I will jump into that here. This video is about the passing of Pope Francis. He died on Monday. It is, it's hard to believe, it's only Tuesday. So the news actually only broke yesterday morning that he passed away. It feels like it's been several days. But I'm a Catholic, and I have mixed feelings on Pope Francis's passing. First of all, I believe completely that he is with the Lord now. I do believe that his soul was heaven bound when he died. And so as my brother in Christ, I pray for the safe passage of his soul, and I pray that I will share the bliss of paradise with him someday. But I also feel that Pope Francis was not a very good pope, and I am hopeful that the man who succeeds him sometime in the next few weeks will be a better pope for the church. Okay, I'm back with a sudden change of venue here. My toddler is napping on the opposite side of the house, and she started to stir for a minute. Back asleep now, but I will not risk waking her up with my voice. So here I am out front. I believe I was just saying that I do hope that the man who succeeds Francis will be a better pope than he was. And here is the part where I don't have ready at the tip of my tongue an articulation of the reasons why I think Pope Francis was not such a good pope. But let's see if I can find my way toward putting some meat on this bone as I talk here. It seems to me that Francis's vision for the church was too often to bring the church into alignment with the values of the secular world, rather than hold the line of the church's values as a counterexample to secular values. He didn't do that in all things. I know that right to the end of his life, the Pope was opposed to ordination for women, and I know there were times in the Pope's life where he expressed his disagreement with the spreading of what one might call trans ideology. Boy, is it more uncomfortable to talk about political issues when you're sitting outside. at least in the part of the country I live in. But anyway, he expressed love for all people who have gone down that path, as he should have, as we should all profess and we should all feel, and I know I certainly do. But I also think that it is a bad thing, as bad for the individual soul of all the people who fall into it. But I believe he held the line on that, and yet I know I have read repeatedly over the years times where Francis basically did put himself out of line with Benedict, who preceded him, John Paul II, who preceded him, took himself out of the messages that they gave to the faithful and replaced them with messages that would be much more agreeable to people in the secular world who do not even profess the faith. And yet, I don't have the examples of those types of things ready at hand. The one thing I can talk about here is that I know that he was a very sharp opponent of those who wish to keep alive the Tridentine Mass, the traditional Latin Mass that was replaced after the Second Vatican Council with the ordinary Mass that we use now. I enjoy the ordinary Mass. Needless to say, I wasn't there last time that the Church was using the Tridentine Mass as its standard Sunday Mass. Not even my mother and father are quite old enough to remember going to church when that was the service, but Francis tried everything he could really as Pope to marginalize those who were using the Tridentine Mass, and it was clear that he wished to extinguish the practice of the Tridentine Mass at all. And a lot of people whose opinions about other things I know I align with felt that even if they didn't want to use the Tridentine Mass themselves, it was still a good and worthy thing to have in the church, and that those who wished for the elevated sense of ceremony and tradition that you get when you go to a Mass that's in Latin and was spoken every Sunday for far longer than we've had the ordinary Mass, they should be allowed to go to such Masses. And I guess that's really what it comes down to. I think I put my finger just now on why it is that I have felt these past few years that Francis was not doing well by the church, and that much though I would love the man himself, much as I do love the man himself, I didn't want him to be our Pope for any longer than he had to be. And that is that there are people who are way more informed than I am who felt that way about Francis, who on a range of other issues where I am somewhat better informed have the same opinions that I do. So I find people with whom I would be birds of a feather on issues A, B, C, and D, and they all really feel that Francis was a much lesser Pope than his predecessors. And so I do too. I think that's a hermeneutic a lot of us probably use for a lot of things in life. Find out what opinion is held by people who we know we think a lot alike about with other things, and then adopt their opinion and assume if you ever were really informed on the issue, you'd come to the same conclusion. Not a terrible hermeneutic for a lot of things in life, and there are so many issues out there that it's beyond the ability of a lot of people to ever really become competent to speak on most of them. But that's not where I want to be. I do want to be able, not to be a master of a lot of different subjects, but I would like to be competent to speak on a lot of different matters. And yet something like this, it's been my opinion for years that Pope Francis was not a very good Pope for the Church, and I hope that his successor is a lot different than he is. And yet, though I have felt that way for years, I am not competent to speak on the topic. So that's not great, but it's something to have kind of noticed this here. And that's where I will end this video. So if you stuck around to the end, thanks so much. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day or night.